Ladies and gents, welcome back. Critical infrastructure was blocked all last week. Will the government do anything about the people involved with that? Probably not. That's a different class of citizen here in Canada. But if you happen to be involved a year and a half ago with the Freedom Convoy protest that was happening in Ottawa and some other areas around Canada, well, the police may still be going after you. And they're proving that today with going after and issuing a warrant for the arrest of Harold Jonker, a Niagara City councillor.
Harold Jonker here, and I just came out of the Niagara Police Station. I've been officially charged with 4 counts of criminal charges. 1 count of mischief, obstruct property, 1 count of intimidation by blocking or obstructing highway, and then 2 counts of counsel and uncommitted indictable offense, whatever that means. We'll find out when we go to Ottawa, I imagine. They did give me a bit of a summary of the charges, but they don't really say much more than what I just read there.
So if you want to watch the rest of this video, I'll leave a link in the description down below. He goes more in depth into what the charges are and how little he understands about what these charges are, but they sound very similar to the charges laid out against Chris Barber and Tamara Leach, who were who are leading the convoy last year. And, you know, they're still fighting these charges. They won't be able to see their time in court until, I believe, September. Now, Harold Jonker is part of the government. He's part of the municipal government of West Niagara, and he's a councillor in the government there. There's an article going back to the time of the convoy, of course, CBC. Ontario councillor taking part in anti-mandate protests attend meeting virtually from Ontario, criticizing the fact that he wasn't in the location that he was supposed to be at. It was a virtual meeting anyway. I mean, so let's get into this. West Lincoln councillor Harold Jonker attended a committee meeting online Monday evening. He wasn't in the Niagara area township of Ontario that elected him. He was more than 500 kilometers away in Ontario. Jonker has been taking part in what the CBC calls the occupation of some streets around Parliament Hill since it began on January 28th. He's still there, and he said he's resolved to stay, even as Ottawa Police Services noticed to protesters who remained there Wednesday afternoon that they will face severe penalties if they do not cease further unlawful activity and remove their vehicles. Of course, this was a protest, one of the largest protests in Canadian history. Now, mentioning Chris Barber, he's on Twitter saying, "This is Justin Trudeau's new Canada. Enjoy, people. You don't dare stand up," and sharing this video of Harold Jonker going in, turning himself in when he hears about a warrant issued for his arrest. He goes in and he turns himself in, doing the right thing, obviously. Tom Marazzo chiming in saying, "Ridiculous. Is this in the public's interest? Really? After all this time, a year and a half, they're coming out with more charges for people involved in this." Kafir Canuck, the fascist brown shirts of the Ottawa police, continue to do the Liberal Party's intimidation of lawful, peaceful protesters. And, well, I couldn't agree more. Now, Harold Jonker is no shy guy, not a stranger to meeting people all over Canada. In fact, he just met with Danielle Smith recently, the Premier of Alberta, to which, of course, you get people with these crazy comments on Twitter saying, you know, "Is this the kind of person you'd like to run Alberta?" Yeah, actually. Yeah, a lot of people saying, yes, we would like people who are willing to stand up for people's rights, and especially in a time when it wasn't popular to do so. Nowadays, you see it like, oh, no, it's okay. Absolutely. Watcher here saying, "I personally know Harold Jonker. He was welcomed back home with a parade after the convoy." So yes, the political types don't like him, but the people of his municipality were absolutely keen on what he was doing. The dude has like 13 kids. and is a kind, gentle soul with more character and integrity than any of the now know-nothing douchebags who hate him for his political beliefs could ever hope to have. Now, contrast this a complete year and a half later, and where are we sitting now? Imagine if the Freedom Convoy did all this, and this is a letter that went out from PSAC to their members. A historic day from coast to coast. We shut down federal locations across the country, heightening pressure on this government to come back to the table with new mandates for fair and decent wages for federal public service workers. So asking for more privileges as privileged government workers. Instead of asking for their rights back, mobility rights, bodily autonomy, this kind of thing. Now they're asking for this, and what are they doing? They're shutting down access to critical infrastructure, and here's them admitting it in a statement, in a memorandum. This is what we want you to do. We want you to shut down infrastructure. This is never a case when it came to the Freedom Convoy, and this is why it was so difficult when it came to trying to implement anything against the protests. They didn't actively say that they wanted to do these things. If anything, the information that went out there was, no, make sure that lanes stayed open, make sure things could continue to operate, but just slow things down and make things inconvenient for people. And that's absolutely true. But what happens when this goes down? Well, the government settles with them. And that's what we're seeing now. Public workers reach a deal with the feds, says True North, ending national strike. The Public Service Alliance of Canada, or PSAC, has reached a tentative contract agreement with the federal government, ending the 2-week strike that disrupted a number of public services and shut down critical infrastructure, as we were just referring to. On Monday, PSAC announced that it had reached an agreement for more than 120,000 Treasury Board workers. The union says these workers will return to work on Monday for their next scheduled shift after that date. However, as Canadians await their tax returns, PSAC is continuing to strike action for more than 35,000 Canada Revenue Agency workers. According to the union, the contract includes a 12% increase over 4 years for their wages. It's unbelievable. And we can look here, Toronto Sun doing another article about this. Strike over 120,000 public servants as union inks tentative deal with the feds. And what's involved in this deal? Well, I lost my marker. Here we are. Here we go. The agreements include 11.5% wage increases over 4 years, with an additional 0.5 group-specific allowance in the third year of the contracts. Previously, the federal government had offered 9% wage increase over 3 years, while the union was asking for 13.5. God, these are people that already make 8.5% more than their contemporary people doing the same work in the private sector. With the tentative agreement, the union says that the compounded wage increase total to 12.6%. Workers will also receive a one-time pensionable $2,500 lump sum payment that represents an additional 3.7% of salary for the average union member in the Treasury Board bargaining units. The union said members will have access to an additional protection when the employer makes arbitrary decisions about remote work, and managers will have access to assess telework requests individually, not by group, provide written responses. When they say the employer, they're talking about you and I. We are the employer for this union. Of course, they're not completely done with the CRA here. So the Canada Revenue Agency has not yet reached an agreement. Parties met through the day and late into the night because this is what is so hard for them. With talks of resuming early tomorrow morning. It's amazing they'll go all the way into the night when it comes to this, but they won't say a minute early or a minute later if they're answering phone calls to the taxpayers of Canada. Unbelievable. The parties do not have an agreement. The bargaining team thanks PSAC UTE members on the picket lines for their support. Of course, this meme making the rounds, comparing the two, 1 year apart. We have a bunch of people who went to Ottawa with the goal of getting their freedoms back from a government that had taken them from them on the premise of a bug that's going around with a giant survival rate, especially for healthy people, and is mandating experimental stuff on people who, and whatever. Here's the deal. But all these people, they just wanted to go back to work. But here we are. These people just want to go back to bed. And we're definitely, the government is definitely bending over backwards for their wants, not their needs. Not in this case, anyway. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this whole situation. They're still going after people who were involved in the Freedom Convoy a year and a half ago. And, well, this is going to just keep going on. It's a gift that just keeps on giving. We'll see what happens with this. But leave a comment in the comment section down below to let me know what you think. And what do you think about PSAC workers, well, just doing worse and getting away with it? Let me know. We'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.